I will now call back to order the regular meeting of the Lake Forest School District 67 Board of Education for June 27th, 2017. May I have a roll call, please, Eileen?
Mr. Folker?
Here.
Mr. Novitt?
Here.
Mrs. Laverde?
Here.
Mrs. Sands?
Here.
Dr. Lemke?
Here.
Mr. Ford is absent. Mr. Borkowski?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. This morning I met with Rob Lansing, the new mayor of Lake Forest. Mike Simic, Reese Markison, and City Manager Bob Kiley also attended. We discussed the financial crisis that the state of Illinois continues to face and the potential impacts on each of our organization. Top concerns for District 67 are the current proposals from the state, which include a local real estate tax freeze and a potential pension cost shift. Both of these items would have negative impacts on the District 67 budget. From a planning perspective, our finance folks have already taken some of this impact into account by making conservative assumptions in our 5-year projections. Thank you for that foresight, Jen, and the finance team. Our group this morning discussed the need for communication to the Lake Forest population on this topic, highlighting how these decisions made in Springfield will directly affect homeowners in Lake Forest. We agreed that by working together and presenting a common message, we would be most effective. We plan for that communication to ramp up in the fall. More to come on that topic. That concludes the President's report. We now move to the Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Briefly, 2 items. The first, we are pleased that we appear to have almost closure on a date with Susan Lithcott-Hames, who is the author of How to Raise an Adult, for December 4th. We are finalizing that. Early thanks and often thank you to Andy Duran for his work in arranging this. This is something that we've been working on for many months, along with Ann Whipple and Andy organizing this, so we look forward to reporting a confirmation of that date. And then finally, and importantly, a lot of visits around to the buildings this week. All the buildings have work going on, very visible on the front of the buildings. Yesterday, the foundation was poured at Sheridan for the vestibule there. And if you drive by Deer Path, you'll see that the entire front of Deer Path West has been torn off. If you go farther in, it's a very odd thing to see bobcats and backhoes in a school building, but there they are. And in Deer Path East, there's a great deal of work going on there as well. So all of the buildings are progressing very nicely. We've run into a couple snags, which we've been able to overcome thus far. So there'll be more on that at each of our meetings, and we'll discuss that later on today as far as an update on our facility construction work.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for the superintendent? Paul, welcome. Thanks for joining us. You're just in time for public participation. Are there any members of the public, including Paul, who would like to address the board? Seeing none, we move on to reports. We have no reports tonight? Is that right, Mike?
Yes, sir. No reports.
No reports. Board committee reports we move to. Starting with education. Jeff.
The Board Education Committee did not meet since our last meeting. However, we did conduct community interviews to select the community members of the Education Committee for the 2017 through 19 school years. Those were conducted back on May 30th and 31st, and I am pleased to announce that we selected 3 community members to be a part of the Education Committee. We decided to increase that number from the normal 2. Those people are Paul Best, Julie Agleet, and Umang Singh will be welcomed to the Education Committee along with myself, Suzanne Sands, and Alice Laverte. Our first meeting will be held on September 12th here in the West Campus at 8:30 in the morning. That's it.
Thank you. Questions for the Ed Committee? We move on to the Finance and Ops, chaired by Tom Ford, who is not here. Does anyone have a report in place of Tom? No?
I'm tired of doing his work. So.
Very good. We'll move on then. We move to the Policy Committee, chaired by Kent.
And Policy Committee did meet in a joint.
My friend.
Let me actually hit the microphone for once. Break the streak. Policy Committee did have a joint Policy Committee meeting with District 115 on June 2nd. We met at 8 o'clock. It was a productive, wonderful, happy meeting with the 115 board. We did have an opportunity to discuss in matters that were relevant to our meeting today. Policy 112, that involves the board member development. On recommendation of one of our committee members, the last paragraph of that one policy was discussed. It was recommended to be deleted. We'll take a vote on it today, and it has to do with the involvement of the necessity for the superintendent to invite candidates for the board to, I think it's board meetings and policy meetings. That said, beyond that, we did discuss Press Issue 94, which is on the agenda today. Again, we'll have opportunity to discuss that. And we have no scheduled meeting right now for a future policy meeting. We'll come to agreement on that hopefully in the future.
Thank you, Kent. Questions for the Policy Committee? See none, we move on to the Compensation Committee, chaired by Rob.
Compensation Committee has not met.
Questions for the Compensation Committee? We'll move on to the Joint Shared Services Committee. The Joint Shared Services Committee met on June 20th, 2017 in executive session to discuss individual administrator compensation. That concludes the JSSC report. Questions for the JSSC? Move on to the Board Operating Procedures Committee. Jeff?
The Board Operating Procedures Committee has not met since our last meeting. However, we do need to schedule a board workshop in July or August or sometime before the beginning of the next school year so we can put this to rest. We only have a short section to complete.
Questions for the Board Operating Procedures Committee? Thank you, Jeff. We move on to the Liaison Reports, NSSED. Suzanne.
NSSED met on June 14th, 2017 for the Leadership Council Professional Development for the evening. I've reported previously that various superintendent groups have given presentations to NSSED in leading up to the strategic planning process that's going to be kicking off this summer and into the first half of next year. So the Northfield Township School Districts presented their perspective on the cooperative's work as it moves into strategic planning. And they represented the interest of the region in having NSSED continue as a special ed cooperative servicing the needs of all students with disabilities and to provide districts a full continuum of programs and services to support students from pre-K through transition that will lead to a productive independent life. They set forth 14 strategic planning priorities for consideration that include a systems assessment of NSSED and all district special education needs, an innovative orientation to forecast emerging needs and practices, additional and alternative revenue sources to help sustain services, and outcome data to determine effectiveness of NSSED services and programs, among others. Then we had Susan Hans, who is NSSED's parent mentor, provide a summary of basically all the learning that had happened over the course of the year at the Leadership Council meetings. And she also talked a lot about what happens in our state after your 22nd birthday if you have significant disabilities and needs, and why NSSED needs to also be thinking about how are we preparing students and families for that change and that transition that they go through. The FY18 budget was then unanimously approved. It had been through an incredible cycle of review this year. That whole process was overhauled at NSSED this year, so districts had repeated opportunities at all levels, business officials, superintendents, leadership council, and special ed directors all looked at it multiple times and gave input, as well as NSSED staff and program leadership. So that's done. Facilities-wise, the lease of the Rubeloff building, which I have come to you before and talked about there being a potential purchase of that building at some point. The lease is due to expire on July 14th, so the administration is now in the process of trying to negotiate a lease extension for the next year while we figure out what's going to happen. That has not happened yet, but I will let you know. But the board president was authorized to agree to something not to exceed $187,272, which is just a slight increase over what we paid this year. We actually anticipate that number being significantly lower for a lot of reasons, but wanted to leave room. And I think that there was also a professional development update. And again, District 67 has been increasing the utilization of professional development offered through NSSED over the years. And so that information was presented as well. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Suzanne. Any questions on NSSED?
Oh, one other, sorry. The new contracts between the faculty and the teaching assistants association contracts were both approved as well.
Thank you. Questions for Suzanne on NSSED? Legislative Liaison, Tom Ford is not here. We move on to the Spirit of 67 Foundation. Suzanne.
Spirit of 67 Foundation has not met.
Questions for the Spirit? Move on to Executive APT. Jeff.
The Executive APT Board has not met. We will be reconvening again in September.
Fantastic. Any other liaison reports that I've missed? Seeing none, we move on to our second round of public participation. Is there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none, we move on to action items. First item, may I have a motion to approve the 5-year contract for Jen Hermes as amended in executive session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion? Roll call, please, Eileen.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Whipple Consulting contract?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Comments or discussion?
I just have a clarifying question. So in the cover letter, make sure I'm looking at the right one. This is just really stupid on my part, but on the cover letter it says the agreement is now for 12 months. Last year's cover letter says the agreement is now for 12 months. Is this just stating, to clarify again, that it's for 12 months? Yes. Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Lavert?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
All right.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Special Education Coordinator 1-year contract as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please, Eileen?
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Lavert?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the 2017-2018 staff compensation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mrs. Lavert?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the final 2016-2017 school calendar?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Can someone who knows just clarify, this is what we send to the state at the end of the year?
It's already been sent to the state. This is just like the final approval.
Perfect.
But it's already been approved by the ROE.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Lavert?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution to display fiscal year 18 tentative budget?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Comments, discussion?
Just one comment. mention on here that Jeff Folker's term expires in 2017. Maybe you could change that on here.
Or maybe not. Maybe we won't change that.
Good catch, Ken. Where's that?
I believe that's called a message, Jeff.
I'll check with Kathy, but
I'm done.
We'll be having a party for you afterwards tonight if we're allowed to.
Later on, there's something similar. We're actually hiring somebody who does a job in November 2017 as well.
All right, are there any other questions? Thank you for pointing that important point out, Kent.
Point of curiosity.
Any other comments, questions?
So,
Or not?
so given that
As amended.
Tom's not here, I think it's worth Jen just mentioning quickly that when we will actually vote on it and that things can still get changed. So, Jen?
I do just have a couple comments exactly on that. I fully expect things will change. We actually brought the budget to you this year a month earlier because we had hoped to have more concrete information, which it's changing just about daily. So that didn't exactly happen. Also, at the time that we completed this, we still had 13 positions unfilled at that particular time. So that will change as well. So what this is you are authorizing to put a tentative budget on display, which will be available for public inspection for everyone that is interested. You will take final action, though, in September. We must approve it by the end of our first quarter. We will discuss it in further detail at the Finance and Ops Committee on July 17th, I believe is that meeting for anyone that is interested. But as Rob mentioned, we not only can make adjustments, but I fully expect that we will. So we'll be doing that, and we'll bring that update to the board on exactly what changed and the final version in September.
So will we get an update in July as well?
Yes. I already, just from the packet last week to now, we know there's some changes.
And you said we'd vote on the final in September?
Yes, right now you're just voting to put it on display.
Right, yes.
And in September, you actually adopt it.
Other questions or comments?
Could it be amended again next month, or and we have to then do this again?
You can amend it as often as you want, but you really can't amend until you adopt it. But you can change it between a tentative and an adoption.
But you need at least 30 days, is it? It has to be on display?
It has to be on display, but you don't have to redisplay
Okay,
it after
gotcha.
you make any
Even if you happen to
tweaks
make a
it,
change,
if
you don't
haven't
have to then
adopted
go
it.
through this process. Okay.
Okay. Now, once you adopt it, if you want to make changes, you have to go through the entire process again, if that makes sense.
Others? Roll call, please. Eileen?
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye?
Mrs. Lavert?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
All right.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Press Issue 94?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, thank you, Kent. Comments or discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye?
Dr. Lemke?
All right.
Mrs. Lavert?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Policy 2:120, Board Member Development?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion?
Just quick comment. We'll hit the microphone. And largely this was coming back on review of the last paragraph, which would, again, delete the necessity for superintendent to invite potential candidates for school board to school board meetings. It was, again, recommended that that would be the only deletion. I think that was on the review of suggestion of Rob at a previous meeting. That's it.
Yeah, and I believe Eileen had discussed this with legal counsel or with press, right?
I actually went to a workshop with press, and I asked the attorney there, so I saved us a lot of money.
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
and so thank you for that, absolutely. But the bottom line is that particular paragraph, this policy, when we first started talking about it several months ago, was taken directly from the 115 policy manual in the attempt to try and maintain some continuity and consistency, as well as the board operating procedures manual does reference this policy, or could reference this policy in a couple of sections, so we thought it'd be helpful to have it in the manual. As Rob had questioned and others had questioned whether or not that section needed to be in, Eileen did a nice job of talking with counsel to ensure that there is no legal requirement that be in there. It was in there simply because press thought it would be a nice thing to do. So there is nothing based in the Illinois school code or anything that requires that verbiage to be in that policy, so it's very easy to take it out. And I believe 115 also removed it from their existing policy at their last meeting. So
And
this,
they're welcome.
and so, yeah, exactly. So this keeps us in alignment with 115.
Other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Laverde?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the human resources items as presented?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
oh,
Oh,
hold
sorry? You got a-
So, if we should, I need somebody to speak to something, and they don't have to answer in huge amount of depth. I talked to Superintendent Simic before the meeting, and I just want to hear it again, and that is, we're hiring what we're calling learning behavior specialists. So maybe I'll direct this to Jen, because she'll know what I'm talking about in my words, and she might direct it to somebody else. And so at the teacher contract negotiations, one of the big issues there was something with psychologists and stipends. And they were big stipends, and the psychologists were worried about something. And my question is, with these new positions, is that going to be a more efficient use of our money, and if so, how? Or are these pure ads? I'd like some information on that.
All right, I'm going to make it a hybrid because I'm going to answer the first part of the question and then I'm going to throw it to someone to answer the second part because I don't think I can answer it. Specifically, where you're talking about, there was something called MTSS stipends. That was a component at the time that most of our psychologists were doing. And what we had said was we're going to open up that stipend for whoever may be the most qualified person to do that. And we have a combination right now of both psychologists and non-psychologists that perform that duty with that stipend. Now, whether or not how that fits into what these LB whatevers do, that's the part I'm going to throw to Rebecca so that hopefully she can answer it.
They're not even in the same ballpark. So the MTSS coordinator is who does the data meetings and talks about students and progress and what we need to do to help students along their way. Learning behavior specialists are just special education teachers. It's the endorsement that they have, a learning behavior specialist. So as an organization, rather than calling them special education teachers, we felt a name adjustment is appropriate because they're specialists about learning behaviors. So all this is your old special education teachers titled learning behavior specialists.
So are all of our old special education teachers
Yes.
now retitled?
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with the
No.
data stipend?
No.
Okay, good answer. Thanks.
Other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Eileen.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mrs. Laverde?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We now move to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. I will now read the consent agenda. Approval of disbursements, payrolls, and financial statements, May 2017. Adoption of CLIC liability policy renewal. Adoption of prevailing wage resolution. Approval of budget transfers. Approval of designation of depositories. Approval of workers' compensation premium renewal. Acknowledgement of AFRIC donation of Bach Omega Trumpet. Minutes of a regular meeting and workshop, May 23, 2017. Minutes of an executive session, May 23, 2017. Minutes of an executive session, May 9th, 2017. Minutes of a special board meeting, June 20th, 2017. Disposal of audio recordings, September 2nd and September 21st, 2015. Is there any item on the consent agenda that any board member would like removed? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which I just read?
So moved.
Thank you, Kent. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alice. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, may we have a roll call, please, Eileen, on the consent agenda?
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Laverde?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We had 3 FOIA requests in the past month, 2 from Nancy Thorner, non-resident, status both complete, and 1 from Master Project Incorporated, commercial, status complete. Announcements, Tuesday, July 28th, 2017 is our next Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. right here in the West Campus Boardroom. At 7:29, may I have a motion to recess the Lake Forest School District 67 Board meeting, which will continue in workshop on the posted agenda shortly.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are recessed.